Everyone. Today we have Karishma with us. Karishma is a health psychologist specializing in clinical nutritional area to fix gut health, endocrine metabolism disorders. Firstly, we want to thank you for accepting our invite to our show and our podcast. It would be lovely to have a conversation with you about millets and its uses. So let's begin this conversation.
Karishma, I was going through your website. It says that mainly there are three essential pillars of nutritional health, that is like nutrition, psychological and spiritual. ठीक है, तो आप can you describe that, okay, what are these three pillars and why one should, what it means and why one should focus on them?
So we have a great question. I feel like I think a lot of people are aware about it by now, especially after this huge surge of health information that is coming online after COVID and everything. But still, I would like to elaborate a little bit, especially my perspective about it. I feel like health can't be one-dimensional. There has to be a 360 degree or rather a holistic way of looking at health, because none of the diseases or none of the discomforts or none of the problems that a lot of people are facing these days are coming because of just a physical ailment. They're coming from there's a host of things that kind of contribute into finally manifesting into a disease or a disorder, right? Or a deficiency also. To give you an example, a lot of people talk about diabetes from a perspective ki sugar ki bimari hai, right? Well, that's not the right way of looking at it. I'm also a diabetes educator, so the first thing that we speak to anyone who's living with diabetes is that your condition or your syndrome has come to you because of a lot of underlying factors. Stress plays a very, very big role in people finally getting diabetes. A genetic profile or a hereditary balance of, their grandparents, their parents, all of these people having the same kind of disease, right? The food, the kind of cultural, traditional food which people are eating in their homes, and, year after year, they don't make any changes into it, or they're not, kind of upgrading themselves and eating better food, eating more whole meals, eating nutritious food, right? So I've just explained to you three parameters. Emotional health also plays a very, very big role. Anybody who is going to be emotionally disturbed invites stress and anxiety into their life. As soon as stress and anxiety comes, that stress and anxiety increases any kind of, bad eating patterns, not sleeping really well, not drinking enough water, not exercising, not taking care of yourself, kind of going into a more of a dark hole, right? And when you do all these things, the body is not going to support you for a very long time. So in this case, what's going to happen is that you're going to invite diseases and disorders. So I also look at a disease or a disorder or any kind of health ailments or nutritional deficiencies from this perspective. The physical plane, of course, what are the symptoms? How can we help those symptoms? What are the underlying mental health conditions, or what are the underlying conditioning or behavior or environment that this person has come from? And last but not the least, which is also very, very important, is your emotional and spiritual health. Because if you can look at yourself as an entire entity, you will understand that your entire life is dominated with relationships, emotions, and how to deal with it. So how can you leave aside such a big part of your life, right? So yeah, that's my way of looking at it, and that's the reason why I've spent a lot of years and individually educated myself in all the three philosophies. I've gone ahead and educated myself in nutrition, I've gone ahead and educated myself in mental health, and I've gone ahead and taken extensive education in the spiritual realm or also emotional health. So when we've combined these three things, we've understood that when we help somebody with the combination of these three things, it really brings about a very lasting, sustainable and impactful change in somebody's life, rather than just a meal plan or just shedding 2 to 3 kgs, which can come back very easily if you go back to your old patterns, right? So that's my way of kind of looking at holistic health.
Okay, so जब आप साइकोलॉजिकल हेल्थ बोल रहे हो, तो साइकोलॉजिकल हेल्थ essentially covers the stress part, that okay, at what like how much emotionally stable you are, what stress has got if stress has got a role to play, and if you are eating your food on time and if it is balanced or not. So are these things also comes under the psychological pillar which you are mentioning?
Actually, more than that also. These are just some very, very, basic things that we've mentioned or you've mentioned right now. There is a much larger level to this. The first one is, of course, as I mentioned, just stress. But, we can't just say something as loosely as stress anymore. It's not just a word we can throw apart. Or like kind of just, say loosely. There is a physiological mechanism that works when somebody says that they are stressed or when somebody recognizes that somebody in their life has stress. It comes with a lot of symptoms also. Heart palpitations, anxiety, sweating, not having a lot of hunger or binge eating, emotional eating, stress eating, not having good sleep in the night, or rather sleeping so much that, you end up having thyroid disorders, or not following the circadian rhythm, sleeping in the morning, keeping awake in the night. So there are a host of things that can be a part of, how we can combine the whole aspect of why your mental health is not doing well and why it's impacting your physical health. So I think apart from these, there are a lot of things that we can look into, and we actually do look into it with our clients, that let's understand what the real problems are. What is the lifestyle issue? If you're not sleeping on time, or rather, let's say, for example, you're staying awake till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, and you wake up at maybe 12 noon or 1 p.m., you are really messing with your circadian rhythm. And your hormones will also be a mess because the hormones work as per a cycle. So if you're a woman in your 30s and you have an erratic sleep cycle, if you have an erratic sleep cycle, there is a very, very heavy chance that you're going to have hormonal issues as well. So I think it's very in-depth, and there are a lot of parameters that we look at it from. And I say that in today's day and time, it's equally important to look at the kind of, impact your mental health is having along with the kind of physical health that you're having.
Okay. Moving ahead. I know this podcast and this page is all about millets and how the millets can be used for your better health, even not only mental health, also physical health and spiritual health. I have known that there are these different types of millets like barnyard, foxtail, kodo, porso, little, brown top, ragi and pearl. I just want you to explain कि हमें कब कौन से millets खाने चाहिए, किस millets के क्या उपयोग है, कौन सा millet कब खाने से benefit मिलता है, and what are the types we should consume and how we should consume it.
Sure, Garima, thanks for the question again. I feel like there is a lot of content available online to kind of find out, different things about millets, but I want to talk about a few things which a lot of people might not know from my own personal research, and also the fact where I'm a very big advocate for people to consume millets, not just when the government spoke about it, but I have been advocating millets since the last 10 years now, especially for people who have gluten intolerances or people who cannot consume gluten on a day-to-day basis. Gluten increase, what does gluten mean? Gluten is the protein found in the wheat grain. So anything which is made from white flour, wheat atta, rava, all these things will have the protein gluten inside. And with a lot of research and, hardcore gut health analysis, hardcore autoimmune condition analysis, we have come to a very strong conclusion that there is a very, very, very big population in India and abroad who is gluten intolerant. So there are degrees of this. There are, there's a hierarchy to this. You can be gluten sensitive, you can be gluten intolerant, and you can be celiac. What this means is, firstly, if you are gluten sensitive, it means that whenever you will increase your consumption of wheat products or maida products, the gut is going to have discomfort. You might have symptoms like constipation sometimes, diarrhea sometimes. Some people start losing weight if they're eating it a lot also, right? Which goes to say that their body is not functioning the way that it should. That's a sensitive formula. It's not life-threatening, but it is very uncomfortable. The second one is gluten intolerance. Now, intolerance, it means that the gut cannot tolerate it at all, right? Our gut, now we know it's the second brain. So if your gut cannot tolerate an inflammatory product like gluten, it is going to have reactions, IBS, chronic stomach ache, chronic constipation, chronic diarrhea, a lot of stomach ache, flu-like symptoms. All these are a part of gluten intolerance. So if you find out that you're gluten intolerant, you should not be consuming gluten products at all. And the third and the more, serious case is of celiac. Celiac is a disease which affects quite a large population now. Earlier it was less, but then now with the gluten percentage increasing more and more in the wheat crop, there are more and more people children also who show up with the celiac disease. In the celiac disease, it's actually a life-threatening one. You cannot consume any form of gluten. So when you come to know that you are celiac, there will be a protocol that you will have to follow, and a certain diet, a strict diet regime that you will have to follow, which can remove anything and everything that has gluten, right? So this is one thing which people really need to understand. Very, very important. The second thing, you asked me about the different types of millets and, how they help and everything. So I know everybody, we keep throwing these words out, kodu and pearl millet and finger millet and all these kinds of things, right? So now let's understand it from a very basic level, okay? There is a broad category known as millets. Now, let's call it from our Indian names, because we are, at the end of the day, in our country, we have to kind of promote it with our Indian names, because otherwise people will not be able to understand what is what, right? So it's three categories that millets are divided into. The first one is major millets, the second one is minor millets, and the third one is pseudo millets. So let's explain what this means. Major millets are the very common ones, and the ones that people consume a lot and they have a knowledge about it. It is jowar, bajra, and it is ragi. Okay, all three have tremendous health benefits. They are rich in protein, iron, magnesium, a lot of fiber, which is good for your gut. They have lots of nutrient value content inside. And that's the reason why so many people will tell you to consume ragi if you have calcium deficiency. They'll tell you to consume jowar and bajra if you want good gut health, right? So that's one. The second one is minor millets. Now, minor millets, people don't know minor millets too much because we usually say English words for it, or we usually don't consider them as a part of millets. In fact, I was recently in Delhi for another podcast, and I was very shocked that the cast and crew that was present over there had no idea what millets means. And at that point, I was just very like, okay, there is more education which is important to be kind of, put out as far as different kinds of millets are concerned. So to name a few of the minor millets: Kagni, Sheena, which is also known as China, Sama, Kodu, and there is one which is called Thangora. These are the minor millets. These are also consumed in small villages, in small states, who are aware about its nutritional benefits. Again, rich powerhouse of fiber, protein, nutrients like iron, magnesium, calcium, micro minerals as well, like potassium. All these things are a great, source for your day-to-day life and for your health. And coming to the last, but my favorite one actually is, and I think a lot of people in India need to know about this and they need to consume this, which is, they're known as pseudo millets, because they are not really millets, but they're considered now as millets as well. It's kuttu, which is buckwheat, and Rajgira, which is amaranth. So kuttu and Rajgira both are pseudo millets, and they have amazing properties when made into food. If you eat roti, which is made from kuttu and Rajgira, it is more rich in protein than a wheat roti, and it is also more nutritionally dense and has more fiber than a normal wheat roti. So I feel like, this is something which people need to understand what gluten intolerance is. Every third person these days is coming up, in my practice, every second client, third client comes up with a gluten intolerance, inflammation problems of their gut. So if your gut is inflamed, you have IBS, you have any kind of intestinal problems, please don't eat wheat and wheat products and consume more millets in your day-to-day routine, along with a host of other foods like fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, everything as a balanced meal, right? So I think this is something which I would like to elaborate about millets. So, what, as per Ayurveda, right, which is, very closely connected to millets, because millet is an ancient grain and Ayurveda is our ancient knowledge. We being Indians, it's known as Shudra Dhanya, or it's also known as Trina Dhanya, which is small seeds, grass-like plants, small size, tiny seeds. That's what it means, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing to understand about these is that, firstly, they're very good for all the dosha types. So if you have, mild dosha issues of the Vata, Kapha, and,
Pitta.
If you have any of these issues, moderate consumption of millets is absolutely fine. However, this is not the platform to give personalized advice. This is a very generic platform that we're talking on right now. So to just explain the properties of millets, they are they're very high in Vata, and millets usually have this property wherein they can increase Vata in people, and that's the reason why there is a protocol that you need to follow when you are having millets. Any dosha type that you have, leaving that aside, that's a more personalized judgment of, when somebody comes in for a personalized consultation and you want help, real help, that's when we can do that. But from a generalized, online education perspective, millets can increase your Vata. So you have to be very careful about, if you already know that your Vata is dominant as a dosha, you have to be careful about the quantity and the way that you eat your millets. Okay. So the other dosha types also, it's always recommended to eat them in this particular format, which is the format. There are 4 points. The first one is that do not ever eat raw millets. Always eat cooked millets. No matter who tells you what, raw millets is going to create havoc in your digestive system. In fact, eating anything raw these days is not good for us. So please consume cooked millets. Second thing, always consume millets with a source of fat. It could be ghee for somebody, it could be coconut oil for somebody, it could be sesame oil for somebody, whatever kind of fat that you like in your day-to-day, consumption. Always consume millets mixed in some or the other kind of fat source. This makes it better for our digestion and the gut health also. The third thing is, have small quantities of it. We are a population that believes in access. चावल खाना है तो एक पूरा प्लेट भर के चावल खाना है, रोटी खानी है तो 4 रोटी 5 रोटी खानी है, कुलचा खाना है तो 2-3 कुलचा खाना है. Well, अगर आपने मिलेट्स भी ऐसे कंज्यूम किया तो आपको प्रॉब्लम होने ही वाला है. So I feel like anything consumed in small quantities is always safe and good for all of us, regardless of what issues we have or we don't have. So please make sure that if you're incorporating millets in your day-to-day lifestyle, incorporate it in a small way first. Slowly build resistance to it. If it works for you and it suits you, you can consume these things, right? The fourth one and the most important one, I feel like, is add spices when you are cooking millets. It could be a millet roti, add a little bit of ajwain, add a little bit of kalonji. It could be, or jeera. It could be some kind of a khichdi. It could be some kind of, porridge, whatever it is. Add some kind of spice to your millets because it pacifies the vata, which the millets are already high in. So, these are some steps that you can follow from a general health perspective to help digest millets really well. And, eat them in small quantities if you want to on a daily basis. If you are suffering from any health conditions, you are pregnant, or there is any other underlying health condition, please consult with your nutritionist, dietitian, doctor, or any expert that you feel is going to be giving you personalized advice. Because I feel like in today's day and time, generic information, generic things only work in a very small quantity. The more personalized it is, the more customized it is, it creates a bigger impact in our lives. And to answer your second question that you had asked about the seasons, yes, of course you can consume because the growth cycle is like that, right? अगर मैंगो को समर में नहीं खाया और विंटर में खाया तो उसका पोटेंसी रिड्यूस हो जाता है. There is a reason why mango is grown in summer and there is a reason why strawberry is grown in winter because the crop is the best grown or produced in these times, right? So the same way the consumption also has to impact you like that, right? Just again, from a general perspective, there's a very in-depth understanding of each and everything, but because of time restrictions, of course, we can't get into the details of it. But the first one is, the most common one that is bajra, also known as pearl millet.
Mhm.
But I will refer to it as bajra because that's how I like to call it. Bajra is a millet which induces heat. It's a hot millet. And if you consume a lot of bajra in summer, you're going to have discomfort. The body might heat up. You might have some kind of digestive issue, maybe, right? Depending on, what your circumstances are like. So I would always consume bajra in winters because it's the best time to consume it. Something as simple as jowar, also known as sorghum. A lot of people call it sorghum, but I will refer to it as jowari or jowar, the way I usually say it. Jowar is a lighter one, more cooler one. It's neutral actually. So you can have it in any season. You can have it in summer. You can have it in winters also. Whenever you want, it's fine because it's a more milder one. So I'll talk about the three common ones because, as I said, if I go into the minor and pseudo ones, a lot of detailing. So the three top ones that I had told you, which is the major millets, bajra for winter, jowari neutral, so you can also have it. It's great for summers, so you can have it in summer. And so coming to the third major millet, which is ragi. The best time to actually have ragi again is the monsoon or the winter. It is slightly more heating in nature as compared to maybe a jowar. That's the reason why it's good to consume ragi during the monsoon season and also during the winter season. It's great in so many nutrients. Great for women, great for babies. So during the winter season or slightly colder months, it's good to have a hot porridge and consume it on a day-to-day basis, even for children, in the right way that I told you before, following those steps and everything. So it's a fantastic source of prebiotic. It's a fantastic source of iron, calcium, all these things. So it's very alkaline in nature also. So of course you can also consume it in summer. There's no problem with that, but best consumed in monsoon and the winters. So I think from the major millets perspective, these are the three different millets that you can consume in different seasons.
After that, I just want to highlight if millets have a power to change or alter the hormonal problem that lies in during menstruation in women.
So the first question that you asked was that if hormonally they can't usually, any kind of food, on a hormone basis cannot really completely shift or completely do anything. So millets are, of course, superfoods of India, but they're not a magic product. So if any kind of a woman is having any hormone problems, please look at addressing what the root cause of those hormonal problems are. Just by eating a certain food group, your hormones will not shift. They will not change. So get in touch with an expert nutritionist or a dietitian and, get a meal plan, understand what your root causes are like. Then if millets are supposed to be included in your meal plan as per the expert, those will play a very good role. Something as simple as, I don't want to give generic information, but let's take one very, very common thing that Indian women go through is PCOS. If you are a girl between the ages of 20 to 30 and you have PCOS, I would recommend you to consume millets as opposed to anything which has wheat or maida inside. Very simple reasons for it. Wheat and maida are high in glycemic index and millets are low in glycemic index. So when you are PCOD or PCOS inflicted, you will have to consume food products which are low in glycemic index, which can balance your insulin levels out. So that reduces your PCOS symptoms. So my recommendation would be that if you know that you have PCOS, or if you're suffering from its symptoms, make a slow switch from regular wheat atta or, multigrain atta or, consuming pav, bread, maida things, biscuits and everything. Make a switch to higher nutritionally balanced things which are made from millets, and consume millets because they are low glycemic index and they will help with your overall health perspective of managing PCOS. So I think that's to answer the hormonal question. And the other thing that you asked me about, if there are any cons of millets. I think, as I mentioned, a lot of things in a lot of large quantities is always going to be a problem. So if you consume something, even like protein, in a larger quantity, you are going to have kidney issues, you're going to have problems and everything. So the smarter way of consumption of food, as I said, we're in a generation now where there is AI, and we're in a generation where we have smart devices. So why are we not using our common sense, and why are we not eating in a smart way, right? So please, as I said, get in touch with your nutritionist or an expert so that they can give you a personalized recommendation, quantity, etc. to eat. And there are no, any kind of gut health issues because of that. And if you are doing it by yourself, if you're eating it by yourself, start eating it in smaller quantities, and then you can increase it slowly. One of the mistakes that I keep seeing a lot, and a lot of people talk about this also, is that we're not using enough of millets. There are only two categories that Indians look at: rice and wheat, rice and wheat, rice and wheat. What is your staple diet made up of? Rice, wheat, rice, wheat, rice, wheat. हम सुबह को चावल खाते हैं, रात को रोटी खाते हैं, रात को सुबह को रोटी खाते हैं, रात को चावल खाते हैं. So there, and everybody's meal plans, everybody's day-to-day routine is filled with only two things, which is rice and wheat. So I'm like, why is the conversation not coming into play wherein you have to include different kinds of varieties of food for good bacterial growth, for good gut health, right? So include millets in your day-to-day diet as per the season, as per what suits you, as per what taste you like. Taste बहुत important है. अगर आपने एक बच्चे को ऐसा मिलेट दे दिया जो उसको टेस्ट नहीं अच्छा लगता है, वो जिंदगी भर मिलेट नहीं खाएगा. So please make sure that you are also incorporating good millet recipes, creating it in good way. The best part about millets is so innovative that you can incorporate it and make so many different things out of it. Today, if done in the right way, you can make cookies, muffins, cakes, you can make breads, you can incorporate it in different kinds of regional recipes of roti, kulcha, parathas. You can include it in so many different things. What I want to see is, I want to see more usage of millets on a day-to-day basis. There should be no conversation about should we include millets in our diet. There should be a conversation about why are we not including millets in, and why haven't we done it so far. So I think the time has come where we can now slowly start incorporating all these things and, become more smarter, AI generated with food also, and eat foods which are good for health rather than just एक ही घिसा पिटा बरसों से चला आ रहा है, अभी वो health को भी impact नहीं कर रहा है. So I feel like, this is my way of looking at a con wherein education nahi hai, people don't consume it too much. Restaurants, one of my major issue in Indian restaurants is that आपको 10 type की सब्जी मिलेगी, 10 type की दाल मिलेगी, अलग-अलग टाइप के चावल मिलेंगे, बिरयानी, पुलाव, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, पर रोटी आपको एक ही टाइप की मिलेगी. आपको सिर्फ मैदा और व्हीट का मिश्रण ही खाना पड़ेगा जब आपको रोटी चाहिए बाहर जाके तब, and I'm just not very comfortable with this. I have faced a problem myself because I don't consume, certain things for my own health reasons and for my own, motivations that I have. So when I go out to a restaurant, it could be the best restaurant in India serving good North Indian tasty food. मुझे रोटी में प्रॉब्लम होता है. रोटी में सिर्फ कुलचा मिलेगा, नान मिलेगा, या तो फिर तंदूरी रोटी मिलेगी जो व्हीट या मैदे से बनी है. Where is the nachni roti? Where is the ragi roti? Where is the jowar roti? Where is the bajra roti? Makki roti? Where is all this? So, through this, I hope if any restaurateur is listening to this, or, any cloud chain is listening to this, please start creating your menus as per millets. Incorporate millets in your, roti menu, in your, overall food menus, so that more and more people know, eat and taste this. So this is what I feel is, some of the things which are very important for us to talk about and, look into with the aspect of millets.
I'm sure if the people who have a restaurant or any cloud kitchen listening to this podcast must revamp their menus and go through their menus and add some millets, rotis, and millet based menus to their plate
So,
through this
Karishma,
conversation right
before
now.
we wrap up, I'll just ask one last question. Like when you mentioned the third pillar of like nutrition, health, spirituality, when we say, so what spirituality has, what role it has got to play? So, by spirituality, are you suggesting workout, meditation? Like while we work out, we are focusing on the physical strength of our body. Like one more set or one more push, it builds the muscles. Ultimately, we are also challenging the mental threshold of our body. That okay, so one more push, we are also setting the a level next for our brain. So what role this like by spirituality are you suggesting more of a physical workout meditation? So if you if you want to emphasize on it.
I would love to emphasize on this. Finally, somebody is asking the right questions. Um, yes, spirituality is very, very, very important in today's day and time. And let me happily elaborate what I mean by it, or rather, what my perspective of including spirituality in your wellness, health, fitness journey means. Okay. Through ages, through rituals, our Indian customs and everything, na, a lot of people know associate, हम जैसे बोलेंगे ना spirituality, spiritual, ये सब चीजें terms हम use करने लगते हैं ना, तो सबको ना सबसे पहले दिमाग में बत्ती जलती है कि religion है ये. We're talking about gods and we're talking about churches and mandirs and mosques and, religion and, doing pujas and havans and, keeping fasts and all these things. Well, that's not what real spirituality is like. These can be dimensions, these can be branches, these can be things that people want to do with, the knowledge that they have, the wisdom that they have, incorporated in certain rituals and things, But that's not what it really means. From my understanding, what spirituality really means is, how much do you know yourself? How comfortable are with you being yourself? How much self-awareness do you have? How much self-motivation do you have? How well do you know your inner workings? हमको पता है कि स्किन केयर करना है, स्किन को ग्लोइंग रखने के लिए, गोरा दिखने के लिए, स्किन टाइट रखने के लिए, तो वो एक्सटर्नल मेकअप हो गया. बट डू यू नो योर इंटरनल मेकअप? डू यू नो व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट यू नीड टू गो थ्रू टू इवॉल्व इंटरनली? सो माय आइडिया ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी इज गेट टू नो योरसेल्फ. Self awareness, using tools and techniques to get the maximum knowledge about what you are, why you are, how are you supposed to function in today's day and time? What is your purpose in life? What is your motivating factor in life? What are the things that are not okay with you? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? How are you internally looking at your health and not just कि gym जाऊंगा, खाना खाऊंगा, ये time पे ये करूंगा? Yeah, those are rituals, routines. We have to do that. But do you know what your energetic type is like? Do you know what are your tolerances and intolerances? Do you know if you are comfortable in large crowds or not? Or are you a person who likes to stay by themselves but is pushing and forcing yourself to be with crowds all the time? Are you somebody who thrives on only home cooked food, but because of culture, because of seeing so much of, social media, Swiggy, Zomato, you're like, ये भी खाते हैं, ये भी खाते हैं, ये भी खाते हैं, पर नहीं सूट हो रहा है.
Fear of missing out.
Yes. So I feel like, if you are confident, and I mean the real confidence, okay? If you are self-aware, if you are equipped with knowledge about, what you are internally, how to get what you want in life, how not to go behind things which are not for you in life, how to stick with your own resolution, stick with your own willpower in difficult situations. I get this on the topic of this, then I would like to kind of, relate a recent thing that I heard from a client, right? We all have hectic schedules. We all are running from here to there. Our jobs are busy, right? Our businesses are also very hectic. So, she mentioned that I would like to only follow a meal plan when I have the time and space to focus on myself. Because otherwise, if I'm traveling and I'm working and everything, how do I manage things? So, I had the conversation that I was having with her, and I told her that your day-to-day life is going to be hectic. You're going to have to work. You're going to have responsibilities, take care of yourself, take care of your family, travel whenever needed, look into seasons, look into your hormones. You're never going to be in a zen mode. ना लोग वेट करते कि हम मेडिटेट करेंगे, हम किधर जाएंगे विपासना में, तब जाके हमारा स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी चालू होगा. नहीं भाई, आपका जीवन ही स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी है. उसको सही तरीके से निकाल लो, आपका मोक्ष का राह वही है. So I feel like day to day life, day to day basis, there's small things which are a problem. कि ट्रैवल बहुत लंबा है इसलिए एक स्नैक मिस हो रहा है मेरा, तो उसको डील करो. वहां पे तुमको क्लैरिटी मिलेगी. ना कि मैं वेट करूं, मैं वेकेशन पे जाऊंगी, उधर कुछ नहीं करने को होगा तो एक दिन में 4 मील्स में फोकस कर सकती हूँ. नहीं भाई, वो नहीं होएगा, क्योंकि आपका डेली रूटीन ऐसा नहीं है, आपका डेली लाइफ ऐसा नहीं है. सो डू यू वांट टू बी बेटर इक्विप्ड फॉर डेली लाइफ, or do you want to be better equipped for some moments of zen which you have to really struggle to get? My common sense tells me that if you are better equipped to deal with your day-to-day life, and uske andar moments create kar sakte ho aap for looking after your health, looking after your well-being, looking after your energetic needs. That is what real self-development is. That is what real holistic wellness is. That is what taking care of yourself is. So I was just giving you an example, that this is what a spiritual practice is for me. That I took better care of myself with the right knowledge in spite of having a hectic schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, lastly, don't complicate such things. They are not heavy topics. They're simple topics. बस उसका application सीख लो कि कैसे कहाँ apply करना है चीजें. And I think that will really help people understand that spirituality is an ongoing journey. It's not कि 35 के बाद 2 साल डेडिकेट करोगे तो एकदम एनलाइटनमेंट मिल जाएगा आपको. नहीं होता है. वो 2 साल बिता भी लो, उसके बाद आओगे और शायद और मे बी इंक्रीज हो जाए लाइफ की प्रॉब्लम्स. हाउ डू वी नो? व्हाट डू वी नो व्हाट इज गोइंग टू कम टुमारो? So I feel like live your day-to-day life the way that you have to. Equip yourself with the knowledge, with the strength, with the self-awareness, with the power to deal with day-to-day challenges in the most effective, nicest way possible. And that's what your own spiritual enlightenment will be. And that journey will become more and more and more interesting for you to go in depth about.
Makes sense.
Totally agreeing with you, Karishma, that spirituality is an ongoing process and we have to work really hard every day to keep it tight. So this brings us to the end of this podcast. Thank you, Karishma, for educating us and our audience about millets and its other dynamics. I hope this podcast has solved so many questions that arise in our mind about what should we eat, how we should eat, and what are the qualities and the pros and cons of the millet. So thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you guys. Share all the details once they're out, and I will speak to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Take care.